The name itself is a mystery. Black Dahlia. It sounds like something from a cheap novel, but it's real. It belongs to a real person. Elizabeth Short. She was 22 years old. She wanted to be a movie star. Instead, she became America's most famous murder victim. On January 15, 1947, a woman walking with her child in a Los Angeles neighborhood saw something in a vacant lot. She thought it was a broken store mannequin. It wasn't. It was Elizabeth Short's body, and it was naked. It was cut clean in half at the waist. It had been drained of all its blood and washed. Her face was cut from the corners of her mouth to her ears, a grotesque smile carved into her flesh. The killer had taken parts of her body. It was a brutal, shocking crime, the kind of crime that haunts a city forever. The police investigation was massive. They interviewed hundreds of people. They chased down thousands of leads. The public was obsessed. Everyone had a theory. The killer was a mad doctor, a jilted lover, a random psychopath. The suspect list was a parade of men. Soldiers, doctors, small-time criminals, even Orson Welles for a brief, strange moment. The assumption was clear. A crime this violent, this savage, had to be the work of a man. But what if it wasn't? What if the person who hated Elizabeth Short enough to do this wasn't a man she rejected? What if it was a woman who saw her as a rival? What if the Black Dahlia was killed by a jealous woman? It's an idea that gets dismissed a lot. People point to the sheer strength required to cut a body in half. They point to the statistics, how women rarely commit murders this brutal. It's easier to imagine a monster in the shadows, a man with a scalpel and a twisted mind. But the details of the crime, the things that don't quite fit the male killer theory, keep pulling you back to this other possibility. A possibility that is somehow more intimate and more terrifying. Let's start with the motive. Jealousy is a powerful thing. It's not just a feeling, it can be an obsession. It can eat you alive, and Elizabeth Short was the kind of woman who could inspire jealousy. She was stunningly beautiful. Men were drawn to her. She was a flirt. She liked attention. She moved through a world of soldiers, of Hollywood wannabes, of men with a little bit of money and a lot of promises. She was trying to get ahead, using her looks and her charm as currency. That was the game in 1940s Hollywood. Imagine a wife, maybe the wife of a doctor or studio executive or just a regular guy with a good job. He meets Elizabeth, he's enchanted by her. Maybe he spends money on her, maybe he buys her a new coat or takes her to dinner. Maybe he promises her things, he tells his wife he's working late, he lies. But the wife knows, she sees the lipstick on his collar, or finds a matchbook from a club she's never been to. Or maybe he confesses, he tells her he's in love with someone else. In this scenario, Elizabeth Short isn't just a stranger. She's a threat, she's the woman who could destroy a marriage, a family, a life. The rage a woman might feel in that situation is not a simple anger. It's a deep, personal fury. It's not about a random act of violence. It's about an execution. It's about destroying the thing that is destroying you. Look at the crime scene, or rather the lack of one. The body was dumped in that vacant lot. She wasn't killed there. The police knew that immediately. There was no blood. None. The killer had drained the body completely, and they had washed it, scrubbed it clean. This wasn't a frenzied, messy attack in an alley. This happened somewhere private. Somewhere the killer had time and control. A bathroom, a basement, a garage, or a home. Who has that kind of space? Who is more likely to have a place where they can commit a murder and then meticulously clean up the evidence? A transient psychopath, or someone with a stable home. The act of washing the body is strange. It's not something you see in most brutal murders. A male killer, driven by rage or lust, is more likely to kill and flee. The act is the point. But here, there was a post-mortem ritual. The cleaning feels almost domestic. It's a chilling detail. It's about erasing the mess, but it's also about possession. The killer owned Elizabeth Short's body after her death. They took their time with it. Then there's the way the body was posed. The two halves were placed a foot apart. Her arms were raised above her head. Her legs were spread. It wasn't just a dumped body. It was a display. Some have said it looked like a piece of surrealist art. It was meant to be seen. It was meant to shock. A man might pose a body to taunt the police, but a woman might pose a body to mock her victim. Think about it. Elizabeth Short's power was her beauty, her sexuality. The killer destroyed that. They didn't just kill her, they disfigured her, they carved that hideous smile onto her face, a permanent parody of the flirtatious smile she might have used on another woman's husband. They mutilated her body. They cut her in half, exposing her insides, robbing her of all dignity. It's as if the killer was saying, "You think you're so beautiful, you think you're so special, look at you now, you're just a piece of meat." This is not the work of a dispassionate killer. This is personal. This is hatred. It's a symbolic destruction of a rival. The bisection is the big stumbling block for the female killer theory. How could a woman have the physical strength to do that, and how would she know how? The cut was a hemicorporectomy, a medical procedure to sever the spine between two vertebrae. It suggests the killer had medical knowledge. This is why the mad doctor theory is so popular. It makes sense. A doctor would have the skills, the tools, and the stomach for it. But a doctor is not the only person with medical knowledge. A nurse would know. A medical student would know. And what about a doctor's wife? Maybe she'd seen his medical books. Maybe she helped him study, or maybe she wasn't alone. This is a key point. We assume a single killer. The myth of the lone monster. But what if there were two? What if a jealous wife discovered her husband's affair with Elizabeth Short? What if the confrontation turned violent? Maybe she killed Elizabeth in a fit of rage. And then the husband, the doctor, comes home. He finds the body. He's panicked. His career, his life is over if this gets out. So he uses his medical skills to help his wife cover it up. He helps her dispose of the body. He does the cutting. He makes it look like the work of a maniac to throw the police off the scent. In this version, you have both the motive of female jealousy and the medical precision of a male killer. The two theories don't have to be separate. They can be intertwined. The husband's guilt and fear make him an accomplice to his wife's rage. It explains the mix of fury and precision that makes this case so unique. There were also rumors that Elizabeth Short was pregnant, or that she had a medical condition that made her unable to have children. These are unproven, but they open up another avenue for a female killer. The world of illegal abortions in the 1940s was a dark and dangerous one. What if Elizabeth went for an abortion and it went wrong? The abortionist, likely a woman or someone with rudimentary medical skills, panics. She needs to get rid of the body. The mutilation could be an attempt to hide the botched procedure, to make it look like something else entirely. It's a desperate act of self-preservation. This moves the motive from jealousy to fear, but the killer is still potentially a woman. The police at the time were not looking for a woman. Their suspect pool was overwhelmingly male. It was a different era. The idea of a woman committing such a monstrous act was almost unthinkable. Women were victims, not butchers. This cultural blind spot could have caused investigators to overlook clues or dismiss potential female suspects. They were looking for Jack the Ripper, not a quiet housewife in a nice neighborhood. Think about the taunting letters and phone calls the killer made to the press and police. The killer, or someone pretending to be the killer, sent a package to a newspaper. It contained Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, social security card, and an address book. The pages were wiped clean of fingerprints. The letters were pasted together from newspaper clippings. This was a calculating, intelligent person playing a game. Could a woman do this? Of course. The act of sending the victim's personal items is another act of control, of showing off. It's a way of saying, I have her, I have all of her. Let's talk about a suspect. There's no smoking gun. There is no woman who was ever seriously considered the prime suspect. But there are whispers and theories that point in that direction. One of the main male suspects was a man named Leslie Dillon. He was an aspiring writer who seemed to know a lot about the murder. He became the focus of a secret police investigation. During his interrogations, he talked about an accomplice, a man named Jeff Connors. But some researchers believe that Jeff Connors was a cover for a real person, a woman. The theory goes that Dillon was involved with a woman who was a surgeon or had surgical training. This woman, so the story goes, was in a relationship with Elizabeth Short, a lesbian relationship. When Elizabeth tried to break it off, or perhaps threatened to expose the woman, she flew into a violent rage, and Dillon was either there, or he helped with the cover-up. This theory is on the fringes, but it provides a specific narrative for a female killer. The motive is still jealousy, but it's the jealousy of a spurned lover, not a spurned wife. The rage is just as powerful, and it neatly explains the medical knowledge. The problem with the Black Dahlia case is that it's all theories. It's a hall of mirrors. Every clue leads to another dead end. Every suspect has an alibi or can't be definitively linked. The case is a blank screen, and everyone projects their own fears onto it. The fear of the male predator is the most common. But the fear of the vengeful, jealous woman is just as real. Why does the male killer theory persist so strongly? Part of it is George Hodel. He is, for many, the most compelling suspect. His own son, a former lap-dead detective named Steve Hodel, built a powerful case against him. And George Hodel was a brilliant doctor with a dark side. He had a secret room in his house where his son believes he tortured and killed Elizabeth Short. He had surgical training. He owned surrealist art that looked eerily like the posed body. He fled the country when he came under suspicion. The evidence is circumstantial, but it's a lot. It's a complete, satisfying story. The evil genius doctor. It fits. But even in the Hodel story, there's a place for a woman's rage. Hodel was a known womanizer. He had a wife and children, but he had constant affairs. Was it possible he was having an affair with Elizabeth Short? Yes. Was it possible his wife or another one of his lovers found out? Yes. Could the murder have happened at his house but not by his hand? Or maybe he and another woman were in it together? The case is so murky you can't rule it out. The female killer theory forces us to look at the crime differently. Instead of seeing a random act of male violence, we see a deeply personal act of female rage. The details take on new meaning. The clean body isn't just about removing evidence. It's an obsessive, almost ritualistic act. A woman cleaning a house, a woman cleaning a body. It's a disturbing parallel. The Glasgow smile isn't just a random mutilation. It's a direct attack on Elizabeth's beauty, her greatest asset in the world of men. It's a way of silencing her, of wiping that seductive smile off her face forever. The bisection isn't just about the shock value. It's a complete annihilation of her form. It's about taking her apart, piece by piece. It's the ultimate act of dehumanization. A man might do this to feel powerful. A woman might do this to erase a rival so completely that she no longer exists as a whole person. The lack of a sexual assault is also a key point. The coroner found no evidence of rape. For a crime this brutal and intimate, the absence of sexual violence is strange if the killer was a man driven by lust. A male killer might kill in a sexual frenzy, but this killing seems cold, calculated. The mutilations were post-mortem. The violence was symbolic, not sexual. This fits better with a motive of pure hatred or jealousy. The killer wasn't trying to possess Elizabeth sexually, they were trying to destroy her. So, we're left with a ghost, a 75-year-old mystery with no answers. The truth is, we will probably never know who killed Elizabeth Short. The trail is ice cold, the witnesses are dead, the evidence is gone. All we have are the facts of the crime and the stories we tell about it. The story of the Mad Doctor is compelling. It's a Hollywood story. The story of the random psycho is terrifying. It speaks to our fear of the unknown. But the story of the jealous woman is also powerful. It's a story that's less common in true crime, but maybe more common in real life. It's a story about the darkness that can exist in ordinary places. Not in the operating theater of a mad surgeon, but in the quiet, desperate heart of a woman who has been betrayed. The Black Dahlia case is not just about who killed Elizabeth Short, it's about who Elizabeth Short was, and the world she lived in. It was a world where a young woman's value was tied to her beauty, where her survival depended on the attention of men. And in that world, another woman could see that beauty not as something to admire, but as a weapon aimed directly at her. Could the Black Dahlia have been killed by a jealous woman? Yes. It's not the most popular theory. It's not the one with the most evidence, but it's the one that feels chillingly personal. It explains the intimacy of the violence. It explains the rage behind the mutilation. Turns the crime from a random slaughter into a targeted assassination. Maybe the killer wasn't a monster hiding in the shadows. Someone you would never suspect. A wife, a lover, a nurse, someone who smiled at Elizabeth Short one day and decided to cut that smile off her face the next. The case remains unsolved. The possibilities remain open. And in the silence, the whisper of a woman's rage is just as loud as the roar of any man's. The story of the Black Dahlia is a story of a woman destroyed. It's not so hard to believe that the destroyer could have been a woman too.